What's going on, Titan Nation? Everybody, what's going on? We finna get ready to get started in just a bit. We're gonna let a few of y'all start to file on in. Make sure y'all share this show out on Facebook. Make sure you also share this out. If you got Twitter, make sure you share it to Twitter. And also take a shot and put it on Instagram. We're gonna get ready to get started. As y'all can see, we're gonna be doing a whole lot talking about the Buffalo Bills and the victory over the Bills. We're going to do a quick post game since I was not able to do it last night for good reason. And then, of course, we're going to be previewing the Houston Texans, who are coming in next. And I got some new music swag that I'm going to throw in on you in just a bit. So we're going to have a little bit of fun with that. So definitely stay tuned. I got a very, very special guest, as you can see on the photo on this cover. We're going to have a great man coming on, Mr. Ken Moore of K Moore Sports down in the H-Town of Texas. He has a lot of insight, not just on the Titans, but also on the Houston Texans. I mean, a great follow. Yeah, make sure y'all follow him on Twitter at Ken Moore. He's also on Facebook under Ken Moore. And I believe our old friend Titan Upload might be helping him set up a YouTube channel. So we finna get ready to get started, and we about to have us a real good time. Let's do it. Let's get Titans up. Titans up. I've been scoping from the sideline, waiting for the right time to send the freshest team to scrimmage. So I'm busting y'all. Welcome to Texas. We got this hit. Don't worry about it. We got this hit. We just said it's over. Out here loud and clear. Don't worry about it. See, we got this hit. It's a brand new dance and it's about to go live. Titan Nashville record 615. First step, Titan 2 step, step, step to the right. Then you Titan 2 step, step, step to the left. Blue jerseys everywhere. Game pace, yeah, we got it on. Sticking out our chest, beating on it like it's King Kong. It's about to get her up. Here come the train, y'all. Tennessee Titan. Let's get Titans up. Tighten up. Let's get Titans up. Sticking out my tip. We know it like it's King Kong. Sticking out my tip. We know it like it's King Kong. Titan 2 step, step, step to the right. Then you Titan 2 step, step, step to the left. Sticking out my tip. You know it like it's King Kong. Third down, come around. Now I'm changing it up a little bit. This is the Tighten Up song. Shout out to Denzel Park, my guy Alden Hood, and the Switcher Steve. We gonna pop this in. I just had to give y'all a little sneak preview. We're gonna play that a little bit later, but welcome on in. Welcome in, Titan Nation. Good evening. Welcome into Titans and Truth. I'm your man, Chris, a.k.a. Blue Enforcer. You know I'm fired up for this show tonight. You know I'm excited about this great show that we have, and I have a very special guest. And you know what? I'm going to pop this song on while I bring him in because he represents what Tennessee Titans are all about. So without further ado, if you don't know him, get to know him. I'm bringing in my guy, Mr. Ken Moore of K Moore Sports. Mr. Ken, welcome into the show.
Hey, Blue Enforcement, Titans and Truth. Good to be here, my man. I see you got it pop-a-lacking up there in Tennessee.
You know it. I definitely had to kind of pop that in there.
No doubt.
You know. And that was definitely incredible. And Anthony Hayes, yes, I do remember that. You introduced me to Alden Hood and the guys right there, and they're great. Those are great guys. But everybody, this Mr. Ken Moore is on with us down in the H-Town of Houston, Texas. And, you know, if you don't know his work, where have y'all been? You know, this ladies and gentlemen, this man is a legend, and let me tell you why. You know all that clowny news that came out? You're looking at the guy who broke it first. You're the guy. Here's the guy that was on the inside that had that last inkling that basically said, "Look, this is gonna happen right here." And I'm gonna be perfectly honest. I had to think about. I said, Ken Moore. I'm like, I'm really not familiar with him. And then as I started looking you up, and Titan Upload, my guy Titan Upload, it's time we all talked about you and everything. I said,
right.
okay, I'm like, is this legit? And when we were talking to them and everything, come to find out, pretty darn legit. It was pretty legit. I mean, better than what Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport were talking about. So, you know what? I'm bound to you, sir. I'm bound to you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
You got it right.
That was an exciting time a couple of months ago this summer when I got the news on Clowney that he was likely coming to Tennessee. That was right before training camp was due to begin, and everybody was trying to get COVID situation straightened out and how the season would look. And I was able. Clowney obviously used to play here in Houston, so he's got some connections here. And unbeknownst to me, one of his connections knew one of my connections, and I was able to get some inside information that he was definitely coming to Tennessee. He didn't want to do it at the beginning of camp. He wanted to weigh his options, see if he could get a better deal, see if he could get a multi-year deal somewhere else, which obviously that's the right route that he should have done. He flirted a little bit with the New Orleans Saints, as we heard about a couple of days before he signed with the Titans. But we were able to get that negative information. We were able to break it on Twitter. We had a lot of people retweet it and like it. And even the guys up at 3HL in Nashville, they talked about it a little bit on 104, I think the Zone there in Nashville. And, they were a little bit skeptical. I heard them talking about me a little bit. I'm not Adam Schefter. I do a little work for ESPN. I do some broadcasting and whatnot. I cover the SWAT down here in the South, Texas Southern, Prairie View, more college football. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So this was just a little nugget that fell in my lap, and I was happy to share it with the Titans fans. And I'm glad that it turned out and came to fruition.
Absolutely. And I mean, and I'm gonna go back to some comments up earlier, but Ryan Tannehill basically said, shoot, Clowney almost had a pick last night.
That's right.
I mean, he could have had a pick six and everything. So, but glad everybody's in here. I thank Mr. Ken. Thank you for coming on with us, and we definitely gonna get into some stuff. What's up, Zach, Anthony, Isaiah? We see y'all up in here. We got people on Facebook watching in. We got Orla Struck, Al Pierce. We heard about you last night. And before we do get into the breakdown of the Bills game, I apologize I could not do a post game last night because I was with this big guy and my guy Titan Upload. We had a good Tuesday night lights with him on this show. Y'all make sure y'all check out Titan Upload. Most of y'all know who Titan Upload is. He's famous. He's way more famous than me. So, but I mean, you got to check him out and everything. We had a great time last night. So much thanks to Titan Upload for that. What's up, Titan Torch and everything. So yeah, I definitely remember that. Yeah, Titan Torch up in here. And again, of course, Miss Margarita, how you doing? Hunter Kelly, big old Titan. Reggie B down there in H-Town, he down there in Texas too, so he's repping for you too.
All and right, everything. No doubt.
We got Titans Mafia. We don't talk about Bills Mafia no more. Might as well be Titans Mafia up in here. Yes, indeed. So glad we got everybody up in here. But let's get started with the show as we talk about this amazing blowout win. The Tennessee Titans come in. Everybody was talking about them in not a great light. And, was talking about they should get hammered hard. They should get suspended big time. They're about to get hit with the most historic punishment of all time because they violated COVID protocols. And Ken, I'm going to let you put out the nugget that that was talked about before the game started that led to this output. I mean, all the national pundits, a lot of fans of other teams was just talking all kinds of crap about us. And comes out in the end, we ended up kicking butt at the end of the day. And I believe, and again, there was a little nugget that came before from the league. And Ken, I'm going to let you, because you came up with it, I'm going to let you tell the great people what was said from Roger Goodell.
Yeah, Roger Goodell said prior to the game last night, he shared with CBS, and CBS reported it during their pregame show, that Roger Goodell, after going through the information and the investigation between the NFL and the NFLPA, that they found no wrongdoings from the Titans that caused the COVID outbreak within the facility and within the players and coaches. It was just a string of bad luck, unfortunately. There was some holes in the testing system and in the protocols that led to the outbreak, but they did not find any illegal activity or irresponsible activity by the Titans or their coaching staff or their management or anything like that. The official report has not come out yet in writing from the league office, but verbally, Roger Goodell has said, hey, the Titans are good. No harm, no foul. Let them play football. There'll be no forfeit. There'll be no penalties or anything at that matter. And what the NFL has since done is they put in more stringent protocols to try to close a lot of the loopholes. As we see more and more positive tests pop up across the league, he wants to make sure that they can close that gap. I think right now they're at about a 10% positivity rate in the NFL, which is much too high for the games to continue at the rate that they're going right now. They have to get that positivity level, down really to around 1-2%. Is where they want. They want to be at 0%, but realistically, with so many people involved, they're trying to get it down to about 1-2%. So the situation with the Titans may have actually been a blessing in disguise for the NFL, because now they can have a better stranglehold on what they need to do to try to control these COVID outbreaks throughout the league.
Absolutely, and that is definitely some great insight from that. And I mean, because that was all a lot of national people was talking about, was just that they violated the protocols. And I know a lot of people were upset with one of our local Titan insiders, Mr. Paul Kaharski, when he came out and said, there was a practice, and there were Titan players at Montgomery Bell Academy. And so, of course, a lot of people were mad at him, saying, basically like, why he dimed the Titan, why he sell the Titans out, why he do that. Ladies and gentlemen, he was doing his job. He was trying to do his job. And I think, myself, Ken, we're in the bit, Ken's in the business. I'm trying to get there. And I mean, you got to do your due diligence. You got to do your job. And sometimes we get it right. Sometimes we don't. And that's going to be happening. And I saw that question that came up, Titan Torch. We're going to save that for PMB. So, Titan Torch, Al, I got y'all question. We're going to save that for PMB. But with all of that against them, they come out in this game. Buffalo comes in, they beat the Raiders. They're undefeated. Josh Allen's an MVP candidate. They're hot. They got Stephon Diggs. I mean, they're coming in. Everybody is picking them to win, and people thought that the Titans had absolutely no chance. I honestly thought the NFL was probably sitting back before Goodell came out with that and thought, you know what, this might be the right punishment right here. Let the Buffalo Bills beat their brains in on national TV, and that'll look good for us. That ain't exactly what happened. No, didn't. It happened in a way that I didn't even think was going to happen. Titans blow out the Bills 42-16, and they are 4-0. Bills dropped to 4-1, and we are now only one of 4 undefeated teams left in this league, along with Pittsburgh, Seattle, and Green Bay. So my first thing is, Ken, I want to get your first thoughts. What did you think of this victory? I mean, did you expect it to go like this?
No, not at all. I was on a couple of pregame shows with Mr. Titan this weekend. If you guys don't know his YouTube channel, check him out. But I was on his
Yeah.
pregame show, and I was on the record saying I did not see a road to victory for Tennessee in this ball game. I thought Buffalo would come in and win this game by 2 touchdowns. That was my prediction before the game, and I'm very glad to be wrong about picking the Titans to lose. But when you looked at the game from all sides, offense, defense, the time away, all the turmoil and controversy. You expected the team to be distracted, but you got to give Mike Vrabel, Tannehill, Kevin Byard, the leaders on that football team, they took this game personal. They
Yeah.
took this week, even the 2 days that they only had to practice, they took it personal that everyone around the league was attacking them and calling them irresponsible and putting the NFL at jeopardy and things of that nature when in
Mm-hmm.
their heart and they knew that they didn't really do anything wrong. And they wanted to come in and take it out and they wanted to show that they were a championship level football team. And they were able to do that for 60 minutes last night from the opening kick all the way to the whistle blew at 0-0-0. They put a
Yep.
whipping on Buffalo. They put notice to everyone in the media that this team is for real, that last year was not a fluke. The 3-0 start
Right.
was not a fluke. And this team is going to be one to be reckoned with. And finally, this morning on the sports shows across the landscape, the Tennessee Titans were the lead story. And it was not for COVID-19. It was for being
Yeah.
one of the best teams in the NFL.
I definitely agree with that. And I mean, it was great to see that. And you mentioned how they played well for 60 minutes. That is key because, again, they did it in all three phases, not just on offense, not just on defense, but special teams was a big part of this football game. And, all of us in here together on this show, we have all talked about it and on Facebook mentioned it. We all talked about at times just how bad special teams has been in years past for the Tennessee Titans. That I think that's a thing of the past now because you had Gostowski made all of his kicks. Didn't really have to kick no field goals, but he made all of his kicks. He's been pretty good because I mean, I know I'm a fellow Memphis alum like him. I wanted him out after that first game. And so I'm glad that I got to eat on my words and apologize to my fellow alum.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, Khalif had, a big time punt return that led to the second touchdown.
Right.
Had a decent kickoff. Brett Kern, outstanding job with Brett Kern and Chris Milton down in a couple of punts inside of the 10-yard line, which was huge. And also shout out to Brett Kern because I know Bo Brinkley struggled a bit with his snaps on some of those extra points, and he was able to get it gathered so that Gostowski can kick him through because you got to have that snap set hold connection.
Right.
And obviously Bo Brinkley, maybe coming back from COVID, it was a little bit of a off night for him, but I'm sure that'll be fine. The kinks will get worked out. But again, it was on all three levels. And, let's first quickly start on the offensive side. We talked special teams, but now let's go to the offensive side of the ball. And, Ryan Tannehill, the stats may not look all sexy, but don't look at just the stats. You go back, look at the game, and look at the way he performed. He commanded the offense as usual, and he goes 21 of 28, 195, 3 TD passes, and ran in another. Have 4 carries for 42 yards as well. Total command of the offense. You figured this is just it's just like last year. Nothing changed. And the COVID break did not mess up anything. So this was cool. And A.J. Brown get back in the mix, 7 catches, 82 yards. Jonnu had a couple of touchdowns. I mean, offensively, they looked pretty darn good against one of the better defenses. I know they were missing people. Ken,
Right.
come on in and chime in.
Yeah, absolutely. Tannehill did a great job. 13-4 as a starter now. There's a couple of stats floating around comparing his numbers to Lamar Jackson, comparing his numbers to Patrick Mahomes.
Yep.
Not saying that he's at that elite level, but Ryan Tannehill, guys, is a top 5 quarterback in the NFL. He may not be the sexy
Ooh.
guy. He may not be the most exciting guy. And there's times that, when he's under pressure, he kind of throws the ball away and things like that, where you really want to step into the pocket. But when you give this guy time and you give him the mobility, and he can run outside the pocket and make plays, and when he's playing with confidence, like he did last night, like he did last year in the playoffs against New England and against Baltimore, when you get that Ryan Tannehill, this team is going to be very hard to beat. And it was so great to see A.J. Brown back in the ball
Yes,
game,
sir.
catching that touchdown on the second play from scrimmage. It was so good to have A.J. back, and I know Tannehill was excited and happy about that. And I just can't wait till we get our full complement when we can get Corey Davis
Yes.
back. I believe Adam Humphries got taken off the COVID list today, so there's
Yep.
a chance that he may be back Sunday against Houston. So once we get our full complement of offensive weapons going, this is a team that put up over 30 points a game since Tannehill's been the starter, and I truly expect that to continue.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, again, we did all of this. All of this went down the offense. And this didn't even include, even though Derrick Henry had 2 touchdowns, he only had, if I'm not mistaken, 19 carries for 57 yards.
Right.
I mean, 3 of these 4 games, he's been at under 4 yards a carry, yet we're still winning. So, I mean, we're doing all of this with Derrick Henry not exactly at his best yet, with Adam Humphries, Corey Davis down, and I mean, Darrington Evans went out with a hamstring injury, although he had a couple of nice runs. We talked about that last night. I mean, he does have some speed to him, but hopefully he gets better with that hamstring because it is a bit tricky. And I mean, the offense just seemed like it flowed with no problem on the offensive line. Even though Taylor Warren kind of had an issue with his shoulders, Ty Sambrailo came in and didn't do too bad. And I didn't even know. I slightly started to notice. I saw it late in the game with Lawan out. Saffold was out too. They let Jamil Douglas get in.
Right,
I'm not a fan of him.
Right.
But
well, I think last night with them being off for so many days, they were off for 16 days. And when you have a big lead like that, it gave Vrabel the opportunity to take most of the starters out, get some reserves in. You saw Derrick Henry, as you mentioned, only got 19 carries. They tried to share the workload in the backfield last night. And that was a direct product of guys being out for so long and not having that physical contact and not having those physical reps in practice. So it was a blessing in disguise that we were able to get that big lead, get some guys off the bench, some playing time, guys that came up from the practice squad. They were able to get some live game action. So it was really a best case scenario last night that we were able to get a big lead early, work in some of those bench players, second and third stringers. And I almost looked like a high school game where it was a blowout and you started getting the sophomores and the freshmen in the game just to give them some playing time. So it was a big
I
win
agree.
last night.
And it wasn't like Mario just mentioned. He said, that's why nobody likes us, because we're not the sexy team. He said, good. I love it like that. We all we got. I know that's right. At the end of it all, at Titans fans, we know this. That is right. We're Tennessee tough. We all we got. And that's all we need. You're daggone right about that. And, something on special teams, I'm glad Zach brought this up. And this was something that I thought of while watching the game. There was a moment, I want to say, in the second quarter where, it was 4th down. Gostowski was coming out, and it looked like they were setting up for about a 55-yard field goal attempt. And I'm thinking, at first in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, you know what? Let's go ahead. Let's just take some more points. We go up 17-10. We go up 17-10, and we'll be all right. But then, right before he was going to kick it, I'm thinking, whoa, wait a minute. I didn't think about this.
Mm-hmm.
If he misses this kick, you're giving the Bills the ball at about their own 46, right at midfield,
Right.
shorter field for them to drive down. If they go down and score, even if it's a field goal, it turns into a 14-13 game. Or if they score a touchdown, then they're up with momentum. So,
Right.
as Zach said, that decision to punt the ball instead of kick a field goal was genius. I got to admit, at first I'm thinking about mine. I hope that part doesn't come back to bite us and those 3 points don't become a factor. But that ended up being a genius move because
Yeah.
it got them, because they were pinned down.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Great point, Zach. We talked about that last night on Titan Uploads post game show. That was the decision of the ball game right there. As you mentioned, 14-10. You can go for the field goal, try to go up 17-10. It was, I think, around 3 minutes left, 3.5 minutes left before halftime. But Vrabel said, no, I got the best punter in the league. He's going to pin him inside the 10. I'm going to trust my defense to hold them to a 3-and-out, and then we get the ball back to try to score before halftime. Now, what we didn't count on is their punter kicking a 74-yard kick and
Yep.
then us getting a 10-yard penalty and having to go 90 yards when we thought we
Yeah.
were only going to have to go maybe 50 or 60 yards. But a great job by
Exactly.
Tannehill directing that 2-minute drive. We're able to get some nice runs from Derrick Henry on that drive. So you go into halftime up 21-10. Whereas you mentioned, if we miss the field goal and Buffalo goes down and score, then they're leading at halftime, and the
Yep.
entire complexity of the game changes. I have
Exactly.
really been impressed with Mike Vrabel, how far he has come from 2 years ago when he was a rookie coach, going for two in the game in London against the Chargers, and we
Mm-hmm.
lost that game on that crazy 2-point conversion that they tried. And it seems like ever since then, he's made all the right decisions when it comes to critical matters as far as coaching. And coaching is so critical in this league. So many
Yes.
coaches lose ball games for their teams. See Minnesota against Seattle on Sunday Night Football the other night. How
Mm-hmm.
Mike Zimmer lost that game. Coaching is so critical, and I think Mike Vrabel is clearly the best coach in the AFC South.
I could not agree more. And I mean, Titans Mafia, I mean, we thinking about it like this. All of this went on. Derrick Henry didn't even really get going last night. And he says here, when Derrick Henry gets going like last year, combine that with the offense that we're doing now, we're a real problem for anyone. And I definitely agree with that. And I will say this, that includes the Chiefs and the Ravens too. And we're gonna find that out. And I mean, and matter of fact, you know what? I'm gonna save that for the blue bombshell. I got a little bit of special shut your pie hole for a certain somebody on ESPN that might need to just shut their mouth a little bit, and we gonna talk about that. I'll say that for the blue bombshell. But and taking it over from the offensive side of the ball, and don't worry, y'all. We have a little special part. There is one little elephant in the room, one little last part that we're going to talk about before we go into Pick My Brain. I'm saving that. It's special. But let's go over to the defensive side of the ball. And this defense was coming in struggling. Mm-hmm. One of the worst defenses in the league. And they shut the Bills down and did a pretty good job of it. Even though Josh Allen had, the MVP candidate comes in with 263 yards passing, although it took 41 passes to do it. But other than that, we held them to only, to 334 yards of total offense. 370 yards total offense. But only on the ground, 95 yards. And the only reason they got that was that late garbage run by TJ Yeldon. Other than that, we really shut Buffalo down very, very well. I mean, Butler with 2 picks. Landry with a sack. Clowney probably should have had a sack. But, I mean, defensively, I didn't expect this type of performance. But, my goodness, the defense stepped up in a major way.
It was a great defensive game plan. I think we'll see a similar game plan against Houston this week. Buffalo and Houston are very similar offensively. Now, Buffalo was missing Josh Brown, their over-the-top receiver last night, who really stretches the field. But, of course, we had our own COVID and injury concerns, so that's no excuse, but just a point of matter of fact that they were missing one of their top receivers. They did have Diggs. They did have Beasley there last night, so no excuses for them. But what the Titans implemented last night is that bend but don't break philosophy. We'll allow you those 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 yard catches in front of our secondary, but we're going to come up and we're going to tackle you, and we're not going to allow the big play over the top, and we're not going to allow you to run for yards after the catch. And they did a great job with that. Buffalo still converted at a very high rate on third down.
Yes.
They converted 13 of 17, which is unacceptable. And without the turnovers, those are the kind of things that will get you beat. But when you make a team go on 10, 12, 14 play drives, they tend to make mistakes at some point. And you saw Buffalo have some costly penalties in critical situations. And then Josh Allen made those 2 bad throws that Malcolm Butler was able to pick off, one on a deflection and one that he threw right to him late in the ball game that really put the ball game away. So the defense did a great job, very strong against the run. Buffalo was one of the worst rushing teams in the NFL coming into last night. Same with the Houston Texans. Houston is ranked 30th in rushing the football. So expect to see a lot of similarities if we are to be successful. Stop the run, make Houston one-dimensional like we did Buffalo last night. Bend but don't break. Don't allow the big play over the top, and then we can get a similar result.
I definitely agree with that. And I mean, and we didn't mention this about Buffalo's defense. Yes, they were missing Tre'Davious White, Levi Wallace, and Matt Milano on their defense. But on the other side, we had this great performance. No Jeffrey Simmons. Christian Fulton was brought off the COVID list yesterday, the day of the game, but was not active. And obviously, I know a lot of people are talking about Kamale Correa. We're going to get to that in a second. He was not active either. And I mean, and still put this type of performance on, was extremely sound, was extremely disciplined. And that was something that I mentioned. I said, for God's sake, stop the run. And they definitely did that. And, they made sure that Stephon Diggs did not take over the game. There was a time where Josh Allen, it was triple coverage on Diggs, and Josh Allen still tried to throw it to him. And you mentioned the yardage. Yes, the Titans did give up some yards, and it kind of reminded me of a team I cannot stand to death, but I'm going to mention them anyway, them New England Patriots. I'm sorry, y'all know how I feel about that. It makes me almost want to throw up. They were the type of team that, they gave up yards too. From the 20 to the 20, they would give up yards, but they're not going to give up scores. They were stingy in the red zone. But the Titans are able, they had 3 turnovers last night. Number 1 in the NFL in turnover differential, +8. And I know a lot of us know what turnover differential means, but for some of you that may not know, that is, of course, that we've caused more turnovers than we've given up. We have more takeaways than giveaways. And we have 8 more takeaways than we do giveaways, which is, that's important. That's championship football.
That's the most important stat. That's the most important stat in football, is that turnover ratio. And Tennessee is the best in the league. And when we look ahead to Houston, they're one of the worst. They only have 2 takeaways on the season. They're -5. They're near the bottom. That explains why they have a 1-4 record right now.
And Deshaun threw 2 on Sunday. He threw 2 picks. And that's something that we're going to definitely talk about with that. And Byron should have had another one. Byron and Clowney should have each had some more. So we should be +10 right now.
Right.
And Sean, you're right. Sean Crawford, what's up with you? Said no Adoree either. And I'm hoping at some point we get him back. And you mentioned this earlier, and then we're going to get on to some other news that, I mean, we're doing this without a lot of our guys. Adoree Jackson is still on IR. Hopefully he'll come back. And I'm hoping that, especially at that Pittsburgh game, we can have all of our guys back at full strength. That's going to be a titanic collision. We're not discounting Houston because we're finna get into them, but I mean, man, this was just an impressive win all the way around and
Yeah,
everything.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Big time win on a big stage at the national TV audience. A Tuesday night, first
Hey,
time, only the second time since I think 1946. There's been a Tuesday night NFL game, so we were able to get that extra primetime game in. And a shout out to the 8,500 fans that were in the stands last
yeah.
night in Nashville. Mike Vrabel said it did make a difference, that you guys did make a difference in the ball game, giving that extra boost. The first time the Titans have been in front of a crowd this year. I think they're going to have, I think they said 10 or 11,000 this weekend for the Houston game. They're going to try to
Mm-hmm.
steadily increase it in Nashville as long as they can keep their COVID situation under control. So it's looking good. It's looking good.
Yes, it is. And I got something special for y'all because this is what we did. We did. Y'all know what it is. Hey, this is what we did. Titans was up on a Tuesday.
On a Tuesday.
I had to do that just a little bit, y'all. That was what was going on. The Titans was turning up on a Tuesday and
That's
did it
right.
quite well indeed. But now that we come into today, we had some news come out. Of course, Mike Vrabel had his press conference earlier this afternoon, but there was some news that came out, and this I was listening to 102.5 The Game with Darren Donick and Chase on earlier today, and the news broke out about Kamale Correa that he decided he went to John Robinson and said, I want to be traded. And, you know, they were on the show talking, basically saying, this is, I don't think this is a good time for you to want to request a trade. I mean, why would you want out? We're 4-0, we're undefeated, looking good, but comes to find out, it looks like, you know, he was probably upset. It seemed like he was upset with his playing time. He was inactive last night, and that was a question that I kind of asked myself a little bit was, why did they only have 3 outside linebackers? I'm thinking, why is Correa not up for some reason? And I don't know, maybe it has something to do with that. He didn't like the fact that he wasn't getting playing time, so he wanted out. And he got traded to the Jags. And I'm going to let Ken, he had, you know, at first they didn't mention what the compensation was, but Ken, I'm going to let you tell everybody what the compensation was.
Yeah, so we traded Correa and a 7th-round pick next year for the Jags 6th-round pick. So as Truth mentioned to me earlier, it looks like we're going to have multiple picks in the 6th round now. So that's pretty good compensation for a guy that likely was going to get cut at his request. Of course, the Titans didn't want to let him go. You know, they wanted to keep him. But when you go out and sign Clowney and when you go out and sign Beasley, and then you already have Harold Landry, and then you got a young guy like Derek Roberson, who's about to come off the injured list. He's about to come back as well. So you would have 5 guys at that outside linebacker position where you really need only 4. And it looks like Correa was going to be the odd man out. Now, for me personally, I hate to see Correa go because I personally think Correa is a better fit than Vic Beasley. I mean, Vic Beasley hasn't shown anything since he's been here. He was barely noticeable on the field last night. Now, I think Correa had just come off the COVID list with Christian Fulton, so I think it was too soon for him to get back on the field of play because he was just getting back from the COVID list. So I think that's the reason why he was inactive last night. But for him, he'll be a free agent. at the end of the season. As a fan, you're like, yeah, why do you want to leave a team that's in first place to get traded to a team that's in last place? Well,
Mm-hmm.
for some guys, it's not about winning. Some guys, it's about playing time and looking forward to
Mm-hmm.
their next contract. And there's no shade on Correa for me. I completely understand it. He's got to look out as what's best for him and his career. And if he can go to a Jaguar team that's struggling, rebuilding, if he can get the same kind of playing time there that he was getting here last year, then it may be a better career move for him and set him up in free agency where he can get another contract. Because if he's only playing 10, 12, 15 snaps here, that's not going to do him any good for his future career move. So I get it from his perspective, but I hate it as a Titan fan losing it.
And I agree. I mean, part of me, at first, part of me was like, dang, Correa, again, when the enactors came out and everything, I thought to myself at first, too, I'm thinking, why isn't Correa up in the lineup? We need 4 pass rushers. I just think, just in case, we don't want to tire Clowney and Beasley out and stuff like that or anything like that. And Titan Upload, what's up with you? Again, shout out to him for Tuesday Night Lights last night. Had a great time. He says, what the heck? Good fit for the Jags. And it probably is. So I know Mr. UCF Jaguar is probably feeling pretty good about that. So it's feeling pretty good about that. And I mean, I liked Correa for what he brought to the team. I mean, he was only brought back for like $1 million or anything like that. He wanted to come back, but obviously wasn't getting the playing time. And, that's what happened. And like you said, Derek Roberson is coming up, and, he is a young up-and-coming player. So you got to give him his opportunities as well. So maybe that's what it is. I hope he has success at Jacksonville. Hopefully not against us, though. But
Right.
it is what it is. We got to keep chugging. If you don't want to be here for the success that we have, we're going to have to just push on without you.
Yeah, no doubt.
That.
And now is going to be the time where Vic Beasley has to step up now. I mean,
I agree.
it's past time for Vic Beasley. You're making $8-9 million. You're on a 1-year deal. You came in under some peculiar circumstances where you missed all of training camp. You're inactive for the first couple of games. The last 2 games that you've been back, you haven't been in the backfield. You haven't been impactful. And you took Correa's number, 44 also. So I'm sure
agree.
Correa was feeling a bit salty about that as well. But
that might have been part of it.
Time for Vic Beasley to step up and start earning his keep.
I agree. And you know what? You're absolutely right about that, because you mentioned it earlier. Vic Beasley, I didn't even notice he was still on the field. Landry, I noticed. I noticed he got the sack. I noticed Clowney, he was getting pressure all night, because there were even times where you noticed when Allen was dropping back, they were double teaming Clowney. They were double teaming him a lot. When he was coming off the edge, they put 2 guys on him. So Vic Beasley, very unnoticed. I'm like, is he even out there? Is he even on the team? So, yeah, if Vic Beasley wants a new deal, he better start racking up some sacks, or else, you know what? Forget that. We'll keep Clowney for a couple more years and let him go, which I think that could be where they're leaning. So, I mean, yeah, I definitely agree. I mean, I wasn't expecting it, but hey, if you don't want to be here, you can get on out of here. So, good luck in, as in wrestling, they would say, instead of saying you're fired, be like, I wish you luck on your future endeavors, so to speak.
No doubt. And a lot of people wonder why we would trade him in the division. Well, we only have to play Jacksonville one more time, and they're not a contender at this point unless something crazy happens, which I don't foresee. So it's not like we traded him to Indy that we still have to play 2 more times, or trade him to Houston that we still have to play twice. We only have to play Jacksonville one more time this season. So don't worry about him being traded inside the division.
I agree. And so let's go ahead and get into our Two-Tone Blue Star of the Week nominations. And y'all know what to do out there. Who was the player that y'all thought was the best? who had the best night? I mean, there's quite a few nominees to go around. I mean, there's plenty of nominees to go around. I mean, you could start with Tannehill. You could start, you can go with Tannehill. You can go with AJ. You can go with Jonnu. Defensively, Malcolm Butler had a big game. Going with that. I mean, Landry had the sack. So Daquan Jones, I was hearing about him as well. He was definitely putting in some pressure on the inside as well. So give it to me, guys. What do y'all think? Who is your two-tone blue star of the week coming out? And like I said, obviously we see a few people coming in with some comments already, and they're just sliding on up in here. So let's take a look at that. On Facebook, it says Tannehill, Landry. Let's see, Landry for Zach Carpenter. Well, other than that, it was a non-factor, but he did get that sack. Obviously, Hunter Kelly saying he's going with Tannehill and Butler. Shine's going with Butler. Another on Facebook says Butler. On Facebook says the Butler did it. I like that. I like that a lot. It's like, it's like the game of Clue. And I never really played Clue before, but obviously that's the famous line. The Butler did it.
Right.
And that is quite true. I like this one with Zach Carpenter. He says Mike Vrabel, definitely. And I mean, he did an outstanding coaching job. He outcoached Sean McDermott in every way possible. So I definitely like that. Reggie B saying 17. Sean Teshope says Clowney. On Facebook, AJ Brown. I mean, wow, there's a lot of different ways we could go on this. Brett Kern's getting some love. Definitely. And of course, Titan Upload is saying Vrabel. So, kid, who do you think was the best player of the night and the two-tone blue star of the week?
For me, the two-tone blue star of the week was Malcolm Butler. As I said, the Butler did it. The Butler did it. And he was impactful for two reasons. First, getting that interception on the first drive completely changed the tenor of the ball game because we deferred and we elected to kick off. So when you put your defense on the field first, you hope that they can come up with a big play. And he rewarded Vrabel for that decision to go ahead and kick it and put them on offense first. And that led to the first easy score. And then when Buffalo was driving in the second half, he got the game-clinching interception, set it up for another touchdown. So for me, it was Malcolm Butler.
I definitely, and you know what? I think a lot of people said that as far as the two-tone blue star we being Malcolm Butler, because he did. I mean, I know a lot of us were thinking that after this year, Malcolm Butler could be a cap casualty after this year. But now that he had this game and he's gotten, he's had, he hasn't really given up like the worst plays. I mean, Minnesota was a little bit of a tough game, but I mean, other than that, he's been very solid and very helpful on this defense. So if he keeps playing like this, I mean, maybe a restructuring of the contract, but other than that, maybe we might want to hang on to him. Might want to hang on to him just a tad bit longer. So I definitely like that.
And he reminds me a lot. I know it might be kind of crazy to say, but when he has the ball in his hands, he reminds me a lot of Pac-Man Jones because, I mean, that second return last night, that was pretty amazing, the way he spun out of that tackle and was able to almost turn that into a pick six. I mean, he's very dynamic with the football in his hands. And I know Vrabel wanted him to get down, and he kind of carries it a little loose. But he has a little Pac-Man Jones to him. He doesn't have the speed of Pac-Man. Nobody does. But he's a very athletic player and dynamic when he has the football in his hands.
Absolutely. I mean, I definitely agree. I definitely agree with that. I mean, it was. I honestly thought he was gonna take it back. I thought it was gonna be a pick six too. I was like, oh my God, he's about to take it all the way back. And I'm thinking it was right there. He's about to make it happen. And I think he turned back inside, and and that's where he kind of got stopped right there. And let's see, Zach mentioning about interceptions. How many is that for him? That is nope. That was 2. He only has 2 on the year, and that was his first 2 on the year. So he definitely did that. But whenever we have a two-tone blue star of the week, we also have to have wah, 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 a dunce of the day. And I think we don't really need to waste much time in who we think the dunce of the day is, although Vic Beasley could be an honorable mention. We're not going to put Derrick Henry as an honorable mention because there's a reason why, and we are about to show you exactly what we're talking about and why this is never going to be let down for y'all right here. There it is right there. Might as well play it one more time. Right there. I mean, and
Disrespectful.
I'll even go a step further. There's the picture right there. Ladies and gentlemen, there is no need right there. There's no need to go any further. There is a consensus of who the dunce of the day has to be. And ladies and gentlemen, it is for the Buffalo Bills, Josh Norman. And this ain't the first time he got made a fool of at Nissan Stadium. I mean, you remember what happened with it was him and Taylor Lewan kind of got to jawing a little bit. I want to say after we beat the Redskins, and he kind of got to jawing with him, and he kind of got pushed down a bit after the game by Taylor Lewan, and then this
did Lewan give him a violin or something like that?
It was something like that. It was something like that.
Okay.
I mean, I have to say by far that would probably be one of the sickest stiff arms from him I've seen. I don't think it's number 1 because I still think the 99-yard run is up there, but I'm kind of thinking about itching that one in front of Earl Thomas just a little bit. I got to do it one more time. Just one more time. I'm sorry. I had to do it.
Poor Josh Norman. It's been a tough day for that brother. It's been a tough day for Josh Norman, man. He won't forget that one, that's for sure.
They will never let that down. I mean, it has went viral. It is all over social media. And I mean, there are pictures showing there's a table up on him where it looked like he's going to crash into the table. There was a picture of him where it looked like he got pushed out of this world, like he's flying in the galaxy somewhere. I mean, my goodness gracious. Yes, I'm sorry. I just think that is obviously that it was just too obvious. That
was a bad business decision.
A very bad business decision. It's just better if you just get out the way. And I think and Zach Carpenter comes in and says he got crowned again with the angry run on Good Morning Football. So he's used to that. And of course, they had to find the angry run scepter. So they found the scepter. They're going to give it back to the king. Give the man back his scepter and let him sit on his throne.
There you go. There you go.
Oh, that was beautiful.
That got the entire sideline pumped up and kind of changed the momentum or kept the momentum going, if you will.
Exactly. And now Tighten Up Low comes in with a point and see, this is a guy, Tighten Up Low, I got love for him. But he mentioned somebody that I absolutely do not mind just beating down on. And that is this stupid fool Nick Wright from First Things First. This absolute idiot said it only went viral because no one likes Norman. He so hates the Titans, which you're right about that, Tighten Up Low. We all know that. We all know that. MJD, the same way. He picking Houston to win next week. You know, he's a Titan hater. He love the Jags, though, y'all. Y'all know that.
Right, right.
So,
You
I
know, Nick
mean,
Wright. Nick Wright used to work here in Houston. He used to do radio here in Houston before he went to Fox.
aren't y'all glad he's out of there?
I am. Yeah, yeah.
Aren't you glad he's out of there? So again, everybody, that was easy. The dunce of the day has to go to Josh Norman. I thought, you know what? I'm sorry, y'all. One more time for the love. Just one more time for the love. Got to do it. Just one last time. I can never get enough of that. That is beautiful. But let us go into our favorite segment, Pick My Brain. Pick my brain. Y'all know what this is. Y'all get to ask us some questions. Y'all get to get down and, you know, Ken, I think there was a couple of questions already out for you.
Okay.
You
Okay. What
know,
we got?
being in Houston. So we'll take a few questions and have a little fun with that. I believe I'm gonna try to see I gotta go back to the top a little bit. And I'm gonna try to see if I remember it. If I didn't get to your question, I apologize. Al comes in and he said, Ken, help me out. And I gotta see if you know some Oiler history on this one. He's in Indiana, but he's a Oiler homer, and now he's a Titan guy. He says, Ken, help me out. Back in the run and shoot days, a local band in Houston took AC/DC's Thunderstruck and rewrote the lyrics and renamed the song Oilers Struck. Is that right?
I remember the song. I can't tell you which local band it was that did it. I don't have an answer for you, but I love the run and shoot Oilers. I got my Warren Moon autographed jersey hanging up. Those were some fun days. Lorenzo Light and Ernest Gibbons and Haywood Jeffries and Curtis Duncan and Webster Slaughter. You
Yep.
know, you go on and on. You know, Bruce Matthews and Mike Munchak on the offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
Man, and you talk about some heartbreak when they lost to the Chiefs in '93, that Buffalo game in '92.
Oh man,
That
that
just
Buffalo game.
that's the reason why Nashville has what was the Oilers,
Yeah.
because the Oilers broke this city heart so many times. And Bud Adams, I mean, I don't need to retell the story. Obviously, he wanted
Right.
to upgrade the Astrodome, get a new stadium, and yada, yada, yada. And things didn't go like they should have, and they ended up moving to Nashville. And unfortunately, we got stuck with the Texans here, and it's just been terrible for people here for 25 years dealing with that nonsense. But yeah, the run and shoot days were wonderful. I don't have an
Yeah,
answer for the DC song, no.
yeah, because I think he was trying to see where he could find a copy of that somewhere. But that is definitely something. But I mean, it's incredible.
There are some if you're on Facebook, I do a search for like some Houston Oiler or Love Your Blue groups. There's a lot of Love Your Blue groups and old Houston Oiler,
Yeah.
Remember the Houston Oiler groups and things like that. You can probably go to one of those Facebook groups and they may be able to help you out with that.
Absolutely. And let's see, Anthony comes in with a question. He's going to the SWAC a little bit. He's saying, what do you think about FAMU moving to the SWAC?
Man, I was so excited when I saw that FAMU was coming to the SWAC because I get to see them play Prairie View. I get to see them play Texas Southern and Grambling. I mean, the homecoming games, just the festive atmosphere. If you've never been to a SWAC game, you need to make it, put it on your bucket list to go to a SWAC game because the pregame, the tailgating is outstanding. Of course, the halftime shows are legendary. And to see the FAMU bands go up against, the traditional SWAC bands like Grambling and Southern and Texas Southern and Prairie View. Oh my God, I can't wait. They're going to play football in the spring. They're going to have spring football this year. And I'll be calling some of those games. And man, I can't wait. I can't wait. So shout out to
Yeah.
FAMU for coming to the sweat.
Yeah, and I will say this because I mean, of course, I went to University of Memphis, and they don't really have. I mean, they have a decent band, but there's nothing like. It's nothing like TSU Jackson State when they come here. It's always a party, and hated that we couldn't get the Southern Heritage Classic this year, because of COVID. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to seeing Tennessee State and Jackson State get down once again because ooh wee. Ain't no game or party like an HBCU game or
Yes,
party. I
sir.
said that
Yes, sir.
that might have been one of my biggest mistakes that I did not go to an HBCU and I probably should have. I should
Right,
have
right.
considered it.
Right. I went to the University of Texas, and then I finished up at University of Houston. So U of H and Memphis in the same conference now.
Yep.
But even though I didn't have that on campus experience, let's just say I made my way to the HBCU parties. Kind of like Isaiah Wilson. Back in the day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I didn't have to
exactly.
jump out no windows though. You know what I'm saying?
I know that's right. So now our next question, I think this is for both of us. Zach comes in and says, after playing 4 games, do you think we'll be drafting an edge rusher in the first round next year?
Good question.
Yeah.
I would say no, because you're going to have Harold Landry.
Yeah.
You will. I think you will have either Clowney or Beasley, and you still have Derek Roberson. So if Derek Roberson continues to progress and he becomes part of the rotation, Harold Landry continues to progress, becomes one of the better outside linebackers in the league. And if Clowney can have the type of year that we all expect him to have and have a huge impact, you may see Clowney come back on another 1 or 2 year deal next year. It just really depends on how Clowney plays. But at this point, I would say no. As far as outside linebacker being an immediate need on this football team, I think you're probably going to look at probably another cornerback if Malcolm Butler doesn't come back, depending on what type of season he has. If they decide to let him go with his big contract,
Yeah.
Adoree Jackson is coming back on his 5th year, but it depends on him being able to stay healthy. So I think the secondary, the cornerback position, would probably be immediate need. And then you also have to look at wide receiver, depending on what happens with Corey Davis, because this could be Corey Davis's last year here with us as well, and we're going to need somebody on the outside to replace him. So I would look at cornerback and wide receiver as the most immediate needs instead of outside linebacker.
And you know what? You took the words right out of my mouth on that one because that's what I was leaning toward. I think wide receiver is our number 1 need in round 1. I think corner definitely something in the 2nd round. And yeah, we could get a pass rusher in the 3rd round or later, but I don't think it's the most pressing need. I would probably say instead of pass rusher, maybe look at interior defensive line as a sneaky dark horse 1st or 2nd round pick as well, because I mean we need, to go along with Daquan Jones in the middle, but we need a running mate on the other side of Daquan Jones for Jeffrey Simmons to go along with him. I mean, Jack Crawford, he's doing okay. I'm not, sneezing at, Jack Crawford or anything like that. He's not, terrible. I'm not, he's done a few good things, so I'm not going to take that away from him. But I think interior defensive line could be something that we look at as well before pass rusher. But I think definitely receiver or corner could definitely be the number 1. We're going to take a couple more questions. On Facebook, they're mentioning, it says, was it fair that other fans got to come into the stadium last night? They thought it was for Titan fans only. And I'm going to start by saying, I didn't like seeing other fans in there. I honestly thought from what the impression I was getting was that it was only that the tickets were only for season ticket holders. and there were a few limited tickets that could be out there, but obviously, I think some season ticket holders probably sold their tickets, and it ended up being to Bills fans. And I mean, if you get paid a pretty penny for it, I mean, look, I would rather it be to a Titans fan, but you got to ask yourself this question. And I don't think it was fair. I don't like it, but you got to think about it. You put your ticket on the market. A normal lower bowl ticket is about $80 to $100. If somebody else comes and offers $200 for that seat, are you going to say no? Or are you going to take the money? Now, again, you don't want another team's fan to come up into our house. But if you only pay $80 for a ticket and you're able to sell your ticket, if you can't go for some reason, you can sell it for $200, $220. Might take the money. Again, the Chiefs game last year, I know this for a fact. The seat that I sat in, I could have easily sold that ticket for about $400 or $500 if I wanted to. If I wanted to, I could have sold that ticket for about $400. I didn't because I wanted to be there. But if I couldn't be there, that particular game, I could have made a pretty penny. Could have made a nice deal off of that. Ken, what you think?
Yeah, I mean, same thing that you said. When you put your tickets on the market, you don't know who's going to buy it and what their fan affiliation is. You're not going to ask that question. You're just going to get supply and demand. You're going to get the most for your ticket. So yeah, I think the tickets were only sold to season ticket holders, but I saw a few tickets up for raffle on Facebook and things of that nature. So those type of things are going to happen. It happens.
Yeah. Tighten Up Low says, you were supposed to be able to sell them this year. Really frustrates him. I understand. And some people are saying it that, some season ticket holders sold their tickets. That's a no-no on Facebook. And Tighten Up Low did come up with one last question, and we're going to end the night. We're going to end this segment on that. And he says, Ken, Arthur Smith is coaching where next year? Much to the chagrin of a lot of fans in here.
I'm praying that he's still in Nashville. And I think he still will be in Nashville. I mean, because there are a few more offensive coordinators who have a longer resume. Greg Roman with the Ravens, Eric Bieniemy with Kansas City. I think those are going to be the first two guys when teams start to look for offensive coordinators that could be elevated to head coach. And then you have to wonder, does he want to be a head coach?
That's a good question.
Some guys are very comfortable being that offensive coordinator, not having to be the CEO of an entire team. So it really depends on what his goals are. Now, we know when Matt LaFleur was here, his goal was to become a head coach. And that's what he sought out. When Mike Vrabel was here in Houston, his goal was to become a head coach. And that's what he sought out. For a guy like Arthur Smith, I don't know what his career goals are. So if his career goals are to become a head coach, then eventually he will become a head coach. Let's just hope it's not next year. But if he can lead us to a Super Bowl victory, then he has my blessings to go ahead and leave. But don't leave until you get us to the Super Bowl.
I like the sound of that. Don't Arthur, of course, Arthur Smith just likes to coach. I mean, assistant coaches probably don't make a whole bunch of money, but Arthur Smith, he ain't won for nothing right now as far as money is concerned. Now, we don't know the family situation, but I mean, for some of y'all that don't know, I work for his father. I work for his pops. Old big Fred Smith, FedEx, multi-billion-dollar company. He don't want for nothing.
Right.
He got money. Arthur
Right.
Smith got money.
Right.
He don't
This is a
need no
hobby for
extra
him.
money.
This is a hobby.
Pretty much. Pretty much. This is just it. He just loves to do. And you know what? That's what we all want to get to in life. You want to get to where you just love your job. You love waking up in the morning doing your job every day. You get to that, and that is like your happiest moment of anything. So, I mean, shout out to Art. Shout out to Artie. Shout out to Arthur Smith. Great guy. Good coach. And hopefully he stays here just a little bit longer. We need you. So, we're going to get ready to go rapid fire and wrap up the show, but we're going to talk about the Texans a little bit. And I thank everybody for sticking with us. I know we over an hour, but we haven't. When it's talking Titans, we're going to have a good time no matter how long or short it is. And so now we got the Houston Texans coming in, and forgive my marker right there. I got it incorrect, and I'm fixing it as we speak because we're not 3-0 anymore. We are 4-0. So we are we on top of the world right now. And so now I got it fixed up right. And there it is. 4-0. Tennessee Titans taking on the 1-4 Houston Texans, who, of course, defeated the Jacksonville Jaguars to get their first win under Romeo Crennel, who is their interim head coach because Bill O'Brien got fired. And so coming into this game, I mean, it's another AFC South division battle. The Titans have a chance to go 2 games up in the division, maybe put Indy further behind because, you know, they lost to the Browns last week. And so this is a very, very important game, And I know you being down in H-Town, I know you have some inside thoughts with the Houston Texans and know a little bit about them. So let's talk about Houston a bit.
Well, let's talk about the Texans. They one key injury for them is they're going to be missing their inside linebacker, Broderick McKinney. He's the snap caller for them, and he's out for the year. He got injured last week against the Jags, so he's going to be gone. So that's going to be a big linebacker missing out of their defense. Their defense against the run is the worst in the NFL. So if there's a game for Derrick Henry and our offensive line to get on track, it should be this week against Houston, and it's going to need to be this week because eventually we need to get Derrick going. He's going to have to get back, and really not him, it's the offensive line because every time he gets the ball, he's hit as soon as he gets to the line of scrimmage. So that offensive line really needs to open some holes. The Texans have really struggled this year against the run, and just like Buffalo last night, they have a difficult time running the football. So that's a bad combination, and that's the reason why they're at the bottom of the division right now. And then also, they don't get turnovers like we do. We're +8. We're the best in the league. They're -5. I think they're second to worst in the league when it comes to turning the football over.
Wow.
The reason why we didn't win that game last year in Nashville, we had that big turnover on the goal line when Tannehill threw what we thought was going to be a touchdown pass. It pops up in the air, and Whitney Merciless takes it and goes, all the way back down in their territory. So that was a game changer in that game last year, just like Malcolm Butler's interception at the beginning of the game last night was a game changer last night. So turnovers are going to be critical. The Titans cannot commit penalties that hurt themselves. We cannot turn the football over against this football team. You want to try to get off to an early lead. You don't want to give them any life. Try to get up early like we did last night against Buffalo and make them quit. But again, it's a divisional game. It's going to be tough. But the Titans should be able to pull it out.
And before we do get into the Blue Enforcer 4 points to victory, Al is obviously helping you out. He's feeling for you. he basically has come out with some Astro love, talking about Jose Altuve solo home run, 1-0 Astros.
I
So
appreciate that.
we know you paying attention to the Stros.
Altuve's hit a home run in the first inning, I think, in 3 of the 4 games, and we've lost every game. So, I'm gonna keep my fingers crossed. I'm gonna keep my fingers crossed.
Yeah, and speaking of Houston, if I'm not correct, what's up with Will Fuller? Isn't he out for some time also?
I haven't heard that yet, and it wouldn't surprise me because Will Fuller he misses every 4th game, it seems like. But when he's on the field, seriously, when he's on the field, he is a difference maker for that ball club. He's torched us many times in many different games when he's been available. Um, he and Brandon Cooks are their speed guys on the outside.
Yeah.
Going against Jonathan Joseph, that could be a problem. Jonathan Joseph spent most of the last 8 years here in Houston, so they know his limitations very well. And look for them to attack JJ on the outside, and we're going to have to keep a safety over the top. Even Byard, or Vaccaro, or Hooker, they're going to have to give JJ some help, assuming Adoree Jackson is not back this week, and I don't think he will be. But assuming Adoree's not there, we're going to have a safety over the top to help JJ because Brandon Cooks and Will Fuller, they're no DeAndre Hopkins, and we're glad D Hop is in the NFC, and we don't have to face that beast anymore. But those guys have a lot of speed, and they can get behind the defense and cause havoc.
And I'm gonna piggyback off of that. I mean, look, Houston is 1-4. We cannot take this team lightly. And we say that because you still got old number 4 back there in Deshaun Watson. The guy makes plays, can do that. He just mentioned Brandon Cooks and Will Fuller. We cannot forget about another guy that has a little bit of speed, but not too much, who burned us a bit last year, Kenny Stills. And they also got former Dallas Cowboy and Packer Randall Cobb. So they got 4 good wide receivers that we got to be careful of. We got to definitely be careful of those guys. And even though David Johnson is probably, he's still injury prone or anything like that, we have to be key on him because he can also come out of the backfield a little bit as well. And I want to say Duke Johnson is also there still, if I'm not mistaken. Also, so I mean, this offense, this Texan offense, we still got to take care of business on the defensive side of the ball. And a question that Sean brings up, and I thank everybody who came over to Titans the Truth after last night with Titan Upload. I appreciate y'all tuning in. Please let me know what y'all think of the show. Let me know if you like it, don't like it, want me to just, forget all of this, let me know. But Sean comes in and says, do we have to worry about old 99 J.J. Watt? And I would think anytime J.J. Watt is on the field, we better make sure to take care of him.
You have to worry about J.J. Watt in the first half. J.J. Watt is older now. He's usually much better in the first half than he is in the third and fourth quarter. So if you can, you have to account for J.J. because he can still wreck a game. And if you don't account for him, he'll get a strip sack. He'll tag your quarterback and knock him in the next week. So you can't take J.J. Watt lightly. He's still a very, very good ball player. He just doesn't have that consistency that he used to have where he could do it for 4 complete quarters. If you can wear that defense down, then he becomes less effective in the second half. And what you want to be is in the lead where you can actually run the ball and you're not dropping Ryan Tannehill back trying to come back and win a ball game. Because
exactly.
The haven't had the luxury of playing from ahead this year, so they really haven't been able to unleash their defensive line. They've been playing from behind a lot, and teams have just been running and gashing them up the middle. And that's going to be the formula to victory for us this week. We have to be able to run the football. We need to have about 150 to 200 yards rushing in this football game. Defensively, same formula as last night. The Texans don't run it at all. They're the 30th best rush team in the NFL. So you don't really have to worry about David Johnson too much running the football because he can't run that well. anymore, unless there's a huge hole there, which there shouldn't be.
Right.
But this is a game we should win. But again, it's a divisional game. You have
I
to
agree.
avoid the silly mistakes.
And this is why, again, we have the Blue Enforcer 4 points to victory, and we hit on some of those points already, but we'll start with number one. As he mentioned, JJ Watt's better in the first half than the second half. We on offense, we have to attack early. Get off to a good start, get off to a fast start, just like we did last night. Get off to a fast start, and then get the running game. Instead of using the pass up the run, let's use the run to set up the pass this time. I forgot to take that off. And with Bernard McKinney out, yes, attack the middle of the field. Yes, Zach Cunningham is still there. He's more of a tackling machine. He's not exactly a guy, in my opinion, that is just overly that great in coverage.
Right.
He's good. He's decent in the run game, but he's not really that coverage linebacker. That's more what McKinney does. Exactly. McKinney's more of a coverage linebacker. Take him away, that could open up some things for Jonnu. That could open up some things for Ferguson in the middle. You know, A.J. Brown likes to go over the middle sometimes and attack that suspect secondary. And number two, this was already mentioned, run the damn ball. King Henry should be able to feast on him. He's feasted on him. He feasted on him last year to win the rushing title and got us into the playoffs. And I think we could do it again. In fact, I know we could do it again.
Yeah, it's very, very important for that offensive line to set the tone early in this ball game. You don't want to get in situations where you're 2nd and 8, 3rd and 9. Then that's when you can feel the pressure of J.J. Watt because they know you have to throw the ball. When you're in 2nd and 5, you're in 3rd and 2, then you have the entire playbook open to you. And that's what killed Buffalo a couple of times last night. They had us in 3rd and long situations. Then they would jump offside and turn a 3rd and 8 to a 3rd and 3, and then we could just run the football.
Exactly.
Good point number 2. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And so now going over to the defensive side of the ball, one thing that we have to emphasize on this. You got to get after Deshaun Watson somehow. Get him on his tail. Similar to what we did to Josh Allen, because even though I think Deshaun Watson is much more of a superior athlete, Josh Allen has the better arm, but Deshaun Watson is extremely elusive. He knows how to get out of trouble and does it very well. And, you know, one of the games a long time ago that gives me nightmares was, and I remember exactly where I was watching that game, that 55-21 blowout game, was we tried to bring pressure, but left the whole middle of the field open, and Deshaun Watson just was able to run rough shot around our defense at the time. That was after Mariota got hurt. And so one thing you got to do, you got to get after Watson. Don't give him a lane to escape. Put him on his tail. You got to put him on his back quite a few times. If you could do that and make him make some mistakes, make him throw some picks. He's prone to throw a few picks. So you do that, add up to that turnover ratio, and we could do some major damage. I mean, I think Clowney is definitely looking forward to chasing him, you know, practicing against him many times. And, you know, like you mentioned Jonathan Joseph, you know, yes, they know some of his limitations, but at the same time, he also knows what they can do too. So he might be able to be a coach to teach the other guys, hey, sometimes this is something that Stills likes to do. This is something that Will Fuller likes to do. We got to be careful of that. This is a tendency that he tends to use. So if you see, you know, maybe his hands do this, or if you see him look in a certain way, he could maybe be able to tell you what he might be trying to do. So you got to watch out for that. And last but not least, point number 4, and point number 4 on 3rd down, y'all. We have got to get off the field. We have got to get off the field on 3rd down. That was something that I was very disappointed in, is that we had many situations where we could have gotten off on 3rd down and were We had them in third and long situations, but yet we couldn't get them off the field.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, again, last night, 13 for 17. That's just a bad number. Luckily, we were able to get the turnovers to offset it. But if you don't have those turnovers, you have to force the other team to punt the football. You
Yeah.
just can't consistently play well on first and second down and then give up third and 10, third and 15, third and 20. You can't consistently give up those big plays because eventually that wears your defense down throughout the
Yep.
course of the game, and it keeps your offense on the field. And we have a very dynamic offense that you want on the field. So very important key points. I like the last one more than any. You have to get off the field, and that ties into number 3 and Deshaun Watson. A lot of times we got to Josh Allen last night, but we let him escape outside the pocket.
Yep.
If you do that with Deshaun Watson, you're going to be in trouble because he's the second greatest ad-libber in the NFL next
Yep.
to Patrick Mahomes.
I couldn't agree more. I definitely couldn't agree more with that. Travis Johnson says we need to draft the number 1 receiver, even though Zach comes in and says AJ is a number 1. It doesn't hurt to have a 1A and a 1B, y'all. So it might not hurt to have a 1A and a 1B in that situation. Sean comes in and says Clowney's getting closer every game. Definitely would want I would love to see Clowney get his first sack in this particular game. So I definitely like that. But let's quickly go to a quick prediction. Now, I put to be determined because I kind of don't know how I'm going to do this, but I have an idea. So, quick predictions. Who wins and why?
Well, I'm going to go with the Titans. They're the better football team, and they're at home. And this is another big game. They know Houston. I hope that they don't take them lightly. I don't think Vrabel will take them lightly. Clowney will be pumped for this game. Jay Joseph will be pumped for this game. The offensive line, I hope, will be pumped for this game. So I'm gonna go with Houston, with Tennessee. I think they can control the line of scrimmage. I think they're going to be able to open up some running lanes for Derrick Henry. I look for him to have over 100 yards rushing. I look for the team to have at least 150 yards rushing in this ball game. We're going to get some weapons back, hopefully, with Adam Humphries. Hopefully, he'll be back in the lineup as well. And we didn't talk a lot about Khalif Raymond. He did a very good job
Yes.
in the ball game last night. So hopefully, he can continue to progress as a receiver. So I'm going to call it Titans 35, Texans 26.
35-26. Okay. I can kind of get down with that. I can definitely get up with that. I am going to stick with a similar situation. I think I'm going to go, in the same realm of that. I think, honestly, I am going to put it just as plainly as I possibly can. I'm going to say 5-0, baby. 5-0. The Titans will get it done. As Mike Keith says, get it done again. They will win 30-17. And here is why. Number 1, they're at home. Number 2, they're going to want to build off of this. They don't want to fall asleep against Houston, and they're not looking ahead to Pittsburgh. They know this game is serious. They want to win the division. These are the type of games you have to win. You got to win these type of games in order to be taken seriously, not just in the division, but in the playoff race. And Derrick Henry, I think, is going to have a coming out party. I think Derrick Henry's going to come out. I'm going to say 140 yards rushing. I think he'll have 140 yards rushing, 2 TDs. I think Clowney does get his first sack in this game. He knows Deshaun Watson. And, I know a lot of coaches tend to coach well in their debut game, being interim coach. Maybe not so much in the second game, so I'm glad this ain't Romeo Crennel's first game. They probably put all that energy into that game. They may not have any for this one. So they got to travel. We're at home. And I just think The Titans, they have to keep that same anger, that disrespect that they felt before this Buffalo game, carry it all the way through the season. Because remember, people still ain't really giving you your full respect. And the only way to get respect is to take it. And the only way to take it is to win. And that's the only way to do this. 30-17, Titans 5-0. I see it happening. I am manifesting it into reality. And I am calling this victory. Tighten up 5-0, baby.
I like it. I like it. I like it. Let's get it. Like they say, take everything.
Take everything, give nothing back. Yes, indeed. So I definitely like this, but you know, and I know Travis says he noticed Derrick Henry tiptoeing. Y'all know how Derrick Henry is. He has to get more carries to really get going, and he's really more dangerous in the later part of the season. Let the first half go. Second half of the year, we'll all be singing a much better and much more sweet tune of Sweet Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry will do what he does. You know, he's like Mark Henry, a fellow Texan from Silsbee, Texas. We know what Derrick Henry is, and Mark Henry always says it best. That's what I do. And we know Derrick Henry is going to do that. But before we get out of here, we got one last thing that I, definitely want to get on the Blue Bombshell. And, it's a Blue Bombshell / kind of a small shut your pie hole moment. First off, a Blue Bombshell, and this is something that Joseph Rodriguez brought up, is that the Jets released Le'Veon Bell last night, and CBS decides to break in through the game to announce that. Ken, what were your thoughts about Le'Veon Bell being released?
Well, it was a bad signing to begin with. For the Jets, they've made a multitude of bad decisions over the last couple of years, probably the last 30 years. It was a bad fit. It was a bad fit for Le'Veon. The only thing Le'Veon got out of that, which I ain't mad, he secured his bag. He got his 28.
Yes, he did.
He got that guarantee, and he got the money that he couldn't get from Pittsburgh. He sat out an entire season to try to get that.
Yep.
So, good for him getting his money, but as far as a career move, obviously that did not work out. Now he's a free agent, so he can try to find a team. Would not surprise me if he ends up back in Pittsburgh, because I think, even though he left on bad terms, his money is fully guaranteed from the Jets. So it's not going to cost Pittsburgh anything but the minimum salary. And depending on how they feel about him personally in that locker room, I think he could be a good fit back with James Conner, back in that rotation with them. And there may be a couple of other teams out there, but he has a very unique running style, unlike any other running back, where he waits patiently in the hole, and you have to really have that communication with your offensive line. A lot of guys, they just hit the hole running, like a Dalvin Cook or something like that. Derrick Henry, he kind of wears down the defense through the course of the game. Le'Veon is a very particular runner, and his running style is not fit for every offense. And so it may do him very good to go back to Pittsburgh, and it may be good for Pittsburgh as well.
Yeah, I could see something like that. I saw some rumor that maybe Kansas City should get in on him or anything like that. I know a couple people pop and go comes in and says he should be a Titans backup behind Henry. I don't think that's gonna happen. I mean, don't get me wrong. That would be a heck of a combination, Henry and Bell together, but I don't know if I see the Titans going in that direction. I mean, again, I would be shocked if that happened. I mean, yes, we got to have like a Bell, like a Murray Henry type of situation. I mean, honestly, but I don't know if we see that happening. As Chuck Corley says, Don't need that drama in the locker room. And, this is a team that doesn't really, we mesh well. We don't like a lot of drama. And if you're going to bring drama in here, you're not going to work on this team, without a doubt. Titans Tour says the Patriots apparently tried to make a trade for him. I mean, that's something that could happen too. I mean, I haven't really thought about teams that maybe he could go to, but if a team is hurting for a running back, maybe maybe he stays in the Big Apple and goes to the Giants. They could use a running back, even though they got Devontae Freeman.
Freeman. Yeah, they signed Freeman.
They got Freeman.
That's not going anywhere. I think for Le'Veon at this point, he's only going to probably really go to a contender. Again, he's made his money. He's not going to go to Atlanta or the Giants or, somebody that's 0-5, the Jaguars. He's likely not going to go to a team like that. He's probably going to sit back and wait for a couple of weeks, honestly, to see if there's an injury like it was to Saquon Barkley, where Freeman could go into a situation like that. So if there's a team that loses their starting running back, if a Dalvin Cook went down or if Ezekiel Elliott went down, somebody like that, where he can just jump in right then as the starter. So I would expect Le'Veon to sit back for a week or two, maybe 3 to mid-season, see what injuries unfold throughout the league, and then pounce on the right opportunity at that time. He's getting a check every week, so he's not going to be in a hurry.
He ain't in a hurry.
No,
that much is true.
No.
And here's why I want to get to a shut your pie hole moment right quick, y'all. It's a surprise one. I saw this video this morning. I was, I wanted to see what the national pundits would say. So I took a look at First Take, and then I believe it was some other show. I can't even remember the name of it. And Keyshawn Johnson and Jason Williams was on the show. And Keyshawn had his rankings. And so when, he had the Titans ranked 7th. And Keyshawn starts running his mouth, running his yap, talking about, well, I sure would put the Titans ahead of the Chiefs because I don't think they could beat the Chiefs. I don't think they could beat the Ravens. I don't think they. You'd be like, oh, so he can't beat the Chiefs? No. He can't beat the Ravens? No. He can't beat the Packers? No. Can't beat the Seahawks? No. I'm like, Keyshawn, shut your hating tail up. Shut your pie hole. What you talking about? You were a has-been wide receiver hack that couldn't hack it with the Jets. The Jets. You were losing to the Patriots and the Dolphins all the time. I'm like, come on. That's why everybody kept calling you Meeshawn, because that's what you was all about. And you barely got a ring with the Buccaneers. And that's because John Gruden got you. Come on.
Right.
Shut your pie hole, man.
Well, we did beat the Chiefs and the Ravens last year.
Exactly.
Take the record.
I was thinking the same thing. And I wanted to be Jason Williams in that situation. I'm thinking, hold up. You saying all these no's. I would have said this. I would have been like, hold up. Before the Chiefs lost that last game to the Raiders, who was the last team to beat them in the regular season? I'd have said, don't worry, I'll wait. It's a very easy question. You can take a look at what I'm wearing. It'll give you a clue. It was us, the Titans. Gave the Chiefs the last loss in the regular season before the Raiders did. Who beat Baltimore in the playoffs? Thrashed them at their house? Right again. That would be us. And if it wasn't for, I know Rashaan Evans was kind of hurt. If we didn't give up that touchdown run at the end of the first half against Kansas City, we might possibly have won that game and been in the Super Bowl. So, Meeshawn Johnson, shut your pie hole and get out of here. Get out of here with this mess, man. Talking all of that. You need to turn in your football card. What you know. Goodness gracious. Just ticked me off right there. But you know what? Talk to us.
I was just saying, preach, man. I echo everything you said. You don't know who can beat who at this point. It's too early in the season. Power rankings are cool. They really don't mean anything. I put out my power rankings. I have Kansas City 1. I have Tennessee 2. Because they're the Super Bowl champs. I give them their respect. They
Absolutely.
lost to the Raiders, but again, when you lose to a division opponent, I don't take that away from you because division games are the hardest games to win.
Yep.
Um,
And the Raiders look good.
they look good. They look
They
good.
did. I was very impressed.
But this is the same Raider team that lost to Buffalo last week, who we just
Yep.
beat. So it's a week to week lead. And, games don't transfer over, say, like the NBA, where you do something in one game and then you can carry it over to the next game because you're playing the
Mm-hmm.
same team. It doesn't work that way in the NFL. You're playing a
I
different
agree.
team, a different system, in a different environment every single week. Every week is different. And as good as we looked last night, I don't expect us to have that same type of performance on Sunday. Fans do not expect us to go out and win by 30 points just because
Nah,
we won 42-16 last night. It's not
it's
that
never like
type
that.
of league. It's going to be a tough game. Now, if the Texans make 4 or 5 turnovers and it gets out of hand, then that's one thing. But you can never go into a game, I don't care who you're playing, expecting to win by 20 points. The NFL is not built that way. It's
I
not
agree.
built that way.
And the best teams are the ones that can win those one score games, those one possession games. Those are the teams that usually have the most success. If you're able to when you got to have a play that just know how to take care of business and win, those are those teams that are the most successful. But to get out of here, one last thing, and I send my prayers up to number 4, to Dak Prescott, because that injury was horrific. I saw it. I saw the video and I saw the pictures. I'm like, oh my goodness. I'm not, I was a Cowboys fan when I was a kid. I always hate on the Cowgirl fans and stuff like that, but I do have some respect for the team. And that going down like that, man, I feel for him. I feel for him. I know a lot of players around the league have rallied around him, and you wonder if that was his last time in a Dallas uniform, because, I mean, he's getting $34 million this year, but he could be a free agent after this year, or they could tag him again. He obviously needs to get his money. Jerry Jones, pay the man. Hashtag pay the man. So, I mean, he's going to recover 4 to 6 months, but I just feel so bad for him. It
Yeah,
hurts.
I saw it live when it happened. And the only thing I could tweet was OMG. I was just like, oh my God. And I'm not I'm not a Cowboy fan at all. I don't hate them, but I mean they're just indifferent to me.
Yeah,
Um, but man, it seeing him crying on that cart. I mean that was a
yeah,
heartbreaking moment. You don't wish that on any player, but it's part of the game, unfortunately. And for that, luckily for him, is that this didn't happen last year when he was making
right.
$2 million. It happened this year when he's making 31 million. So no
Yep,
matter what happens,
he getting
he's
paid.
set for life. Okay,
Yeah,
he's set for life. He's a smart dude. He's not going to blow his money. He has a strong foundation, so
yeah,
he's set financially. Now, can he go out and make an extra 100 million, 150 million, depending on what happens? Going forward, absolutely. But he's a very blessed young man that this happened this
yeah,
season instead of last season. So our thoughts and prayers with him on his full.
absolutely.
Yep.
And last comment of the night, we're going to end this show right here with this. Zach coming in says, our team is built like a python. Slow the game down on both offense and defense. Squeeze you to death. I know that's right. And
Anaconda.
that is absolutely amazing. Um, I mean, yes, if we could do that, we could be some dangerous and some serious on any given Sunday. So, Ken, we get out of here on that. Tell the people who don't know where they can follow you, where they can find your great content.
Yeah, absolutely. You can follow me on Twitter at Kmore Sports, and on Facebook, Ken Moore, and then on Instagram, Ken Moore Sports. So give me a shout out, give me a follow. I'll follow back, and that's the way we can keep connected. And thanks for you, Truth, for having me on. I appreciate it. And tighten up.
Yes, indeed. And on that, y'all know what to do. Tighten up for the crew, for the crew. I thank my guy, Ken Moore, for coming in. Thank you for tuning in. Y'all make sure y'all go check him out on Twitter, on Facebook. Hit him up. He's a good guy. We're going to have to do this again. Thank y'all for watching Tighten the Truth. Tighten up, and let's go win this game. Y'all have a good night.
Go Astros.